Identity management is critical to the economic transformation of any nation. For Nigeria, it is very vital considering its population and economic size. At the January edition of the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce breakfast meeting, the CEO of the National Identity Management Commission, Barrister Onyemenam, speaks on the implications, economy and security-wise, of a national integrated ID card system to the business environment in Nigeria.
Mistake has always been that we see the identity card as the beginning and end of the entire process. And that is completely wrong. Once you think of your staff ID card as an employee of an organization, and you go to a third party, and you want that third party to rely on that staff ID card, there must be a basis of validating that card. Once that basis for validating that card by a third party is not there, it's not an identity management system. For you, within your system, it is an identity management system that ends with that identity staff identity card. But because it can be faked, duplicated, someone can come in a big organization and can pass with that card, there is a need for you to provide a system by which you can use the same card presented by the same person to validate the entire process and his claim to owning that card and being in a position to use it, to come with it into the premises. So once those other components are not there, you have not really gone through the entire circle. And that has been the major problem in Nigeria. Mistaking the ID card once issued as a successful identity management system. That is very wrong. The National Identity Management System is one of 3-track mandates of the Commission. The Commission had the responsibility of first winding up an existing institution. Well, institution in quote. It's supposed to be a separate entity, but it was being managed as a department of the Ministry of Interior. Very wrong. And so the accounting, administrative, personnel, other departments of the ministry were handling bits and pieces of what that department, set up by law, was supposed to be doing. NIMC had to take over the assets and liabilities of that institution, wind it down, something like a corporate takeover. Because I was involved in drafting the law, I thought of all the measures, acquisition, and how you do it in the private sector, so you don't have issues. So we just put some clauses, provisions in the law, and that helped us a lot in bringing that department to a close.
He gives further insight on the value of a functional identity card system to the overall spheres of the economy.
Now, because everybody looks at the card, we've tried to make the card extremely useful, not just for other institutions, but also you can then use it on the ATM, just like you use your payment card. You can use it also on the POS. And we then have requested and arranged for offline transactions. And to make sure that if you're able to issue it to 100 million Nigerians, you have all that 100 million automatically coming onto the formal financial services sector. We use the prepaid payment solution on it. So once a card is issued to you, you have an account, technically speaking, because it's a virtual account. That for us is the single most important contribution to financial inclusion, as against the BVN, because I'm very much opposed to the BVN, but I understand the reason why they are there, so we can help them to take a cue and cue into the broader system. The financial exclusion trend or direction is the BVN, whilst we are coming from the financial inclusion trend or direction. because we give you a virtual payment solution on your card.
Barrister Onyemenam, the CEO of the National Identity Management Commission, speaks further on the value of a national ID card system to the economy.
What we are doing is going to impact positively on identity management, and it will help, by extension, curb fraudulent practices that flow from successful identity theft. And once that is done, it improves the business environment because it reduces the cost of establishing identities and reduces the cost of ensuring that you are dealing with who you want to deal with. And that then means that the cost of doing business will be seriously reduced. It also means that, for instance, in the consumer credit sector, when you are able to easily assert your identity, consumer credit institutions can extend facilities to individuals. What then that means is a gradual shift away from emphasis or focus on cash. A situation where cash is what drives the economy gives way to a situation where credits will drive the economy, and that is because KYC, or put differently, ability to affirm the identity of the individual or to know the identity of the individual, which makes credit history possible, is in place.
For Mr. Folusho Phillips, the chairman of the Nigerian South Africa Chamber of Commerce, it is critical and essential that Nigeria gets it right, considering the value it will bring to all the sectors of the economy.
When you look all over the world, most parts of the world, certainly the developed world, there's always this drive to have an identity and ensure that identity is identified. Now, I believe that the processes that we follow, the things that we do, the issues about fraud, the issues about due diligence, the issues that relate to how can we ensure the integrity of any system hovers and it hinges on being able to identify people. So the ability to know that an individual has an identity that is recorded, that is thorough and is true, and one that is common to the whole nation. Not that you've got different identities depending on who it is that's dealing with you. I think it's so fundamental to economic development. Even this whole concept of financial inclusion, I think, is a very, very powerful thing. We need to drive more people into our financial system, and being able to almost confirm that the minute you have a national identity card, therefore, in principle, you are hooked up to a financial system through the MasterCard scheme or any other scheme that might come into place, I think is one very interesting first step. The other is issues about ghost workers, issues about contracts, issues about 419, and all those things that used to be so faceless before. I think when you pull all these things together, you're saying that we now have a country in which we know who is who. Even issues about our population, issues about elections. There's so many things that are hooked up to it, and the list just goes on and on and on. So my own conclusion is that I think it is a scheme that we need to see to its logical conclusion. I'm a bit disappointed that so far not all the agencies are singing from the same hymn sheet. Each one, there are still some that still feel that they need to be doing something differently. The banking system at the moment that's doing the bank identity, they run on a different platform. The SIM card registration running on a different platform, and it doesn't make sense. Why don't we all come from one common denominator and know that thereon we're just varying from a common base?
From this very great presentation today, it is very clear that the functionality of the ID card system, not just being used to identify individuals, but also even in the aspect of financial inclusion where people can make payments on ATMs, POS and offline transaction, it is a welcome development. But the most important part of this is that there will be harmonization with other related agencies like the Nigerian Communication Commission, the Central Bank, who are also doing similar things like the BVN and the SIM registration. This will go a long way to harness the data capture and achieve 100% viability of this laudable ID card project.